Say y'all again. Meet us at Kroger Field. Uncle Lou, meet us at Kroger Field. Say y'all again. Meet us at Kroger Field. Uncle Lou, meet us at Kroger Field.
Yeah, good morning, and that's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Man, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. College Game Day Live and SEC Nation coming up in about an hour at 10 o'clock. Getting us ready for Week 8 of the 2019 college football season. Had a few games played already over the last couple of days. Talk about those in a minute. College Game Days live from Beaver Stadium, Michigan at Penn State, which comes on tonight, I believe, doesn't it? Yeah, 7:30 on ABC. And, of course, College Game Day, which will be coming on here in a few minutes, is live today from Starkville, Mississippi State. They're hosting LSU. Not a whole lot of great games today, I don't think. And the weather is going to be bad in a lot of places. Keep that in mind if you're considering betting on some of these games today. I had to scale back today because I get nervous about some of these weather games. You don't really know what's going to happen in some of these. Teams that like to throw the ball sometimes can't. Anyway, before you make any bets today, make sure you check the weather for where that game is being played. Speaking of weather, it's cold and rainy here. I've been waiting on this for a long time. Uncle Lou is making chili today. I'm so excited. I've been wanting chili ever since football season started, but hell, for the first month it was 95 degrees. Today it's cool and rainy. So after this show this morning, I'm going to hop in the Lou Mobile. Sorry about that. Head to the stove. Get me some stuff to make some chili. And that's Uncle Lou's eating plans for today. What are you guys eating today? Anyway, a few games played already. Nothing out of the, Thursday, UCLA beat Stanford. Man, what a disappointment Stanford has been last year and now this year. Probably the 2 worst years in a row Stanford has had in a long, long time. I don't know what's happening. You lose to UCLA, that's inexcusable. Last night, Pitt beat Syracuse. That was a pretty good game. Syracuse scored late in that game to make it a 1-score game, but that was as close as they could get. Ohio State 52-3 over Northwestern. Unbelievable. At Northwestern. I know Northwestern's not a good team. What are they, 1-5 now? You got to remember, Wisconsin played at Northwestern a couple of weeks ago, and what did they win, 17-3 or something? It was a lot closer than this. Justin Fields had 4 touchdowns. Justin Fields now has 30 touchdowns this season. Jake Fromm, the most Jake Fromm's ever had in a year is 30. So we're halfway through the season, and Justin Fields has equaled the best touchdown total Jake Fromm has ever had. Georgia hosting Kentucky today at 6 o'clock. You're going to see a bunch of runs up the middle, a bunch of curls, a bunch of out routes, some swing passes, some hitch routes, and Georgia's going to win by 40 points. And then you're going to have a certain percentage of Georgia fans that are saying, "See, it was just a bad game last week. Here we're fine. There's no problems, nothing to see here." So that's what's going to happen there. What should you watch today? Well, what you should watch is this is what you should be watching today. Let Uncle Lou help you. Early games. Florida at South Carolina. How is Florida? How in the hell? How is Florida only a 4.5-point favorite in this game? I know when I did the preview, I talked about maybe, Florida being demoralized from a tough loss last week and South Carolina riding high from that win. But listen, last week's Georgia-South Carolina game was an anomaly. South Carolina is not a good team. How is that only 4.5? I don't know. Comes on 12 o'clock on ESPN. Georgia Tech at Miami, 12 o'clock on the ACC network. Clemson at Louisville. Clemson had a big home win last week against Florida State. Can they duplicate that offensive performance 2 weeks in a row? They struggled the first 4 or 5 games of the year on offense, but they really broke out last week against FSU. Can they make it 2 in a row this week on the road at Louisville? Louisville's not a very good team. 12 o'clock on ABC. Midday games, Oregon at Washington. That might actually end up being the best game of the day. Oregon at Washington. There's no way Oregon can afford to lose another game. I doubt they can get in to the playoff even with the one loss, but if they have any hope at all, they got to win today on the road at number 25 Washington. It's a rivalry game. Two teams hate each other. 3:30 on ABC. LSU at Mississippi State, 3:30 on CBS. I don't think that'll be much of a game. Mississippi State lost to Tennessee last week. LSU appears to be on a roll, especially offensively. Duke at Virginia. This game will go a long way in determining which team gets mollywopped by Clemson in the ACC title game later in the year. That one's 3:30 on the ACC network. Let me scroll down some for you. You can see what the hell I'm talking about. Would that work for you? Yeah, I think it will. Of course, 6 o'clock, Kentucky at Georgia, ESPN. I'll be watching that one. Michigan at Penn State. This has potential to be a good game. It's just hard to trust Michigan in these big games. They've just embarrassed themselves so many times. How can anybody pick Michigan in this game? It seems to me like even if you think Michigan has a chance to pull it off, you just wouldn't bet it at all. I don't see how anybody could put any money on Michigan at this point in a big game. I just don't understand it at all. But that's 7:30 on ABC. Florida State at Wake Forest. That one's interesting. Wake Forest is only like a 1-point favorite or a 1.5-point favorite in that one. They only have one loss, but it was to Louisville. Florida State has looked okay at times. They just, Willie Taggart doesn't know what he's doing. That's not breaking news. And Florida State has a hard time putting an entire game to go. Seems like we all know about their second half collapse. So, and then you got the late night pointless, like Pac-12 and other games that nobody cares about that they put on at 9 and 10 o'clock at night that no one's going to watch with uninteresting teams that nobody cares about. Like Boise State at BYU and Tennessee at Alabama. So if you're bored and having trouble sleeping tonight, those are your late night games. Don't forget to tune in to at least a little bit of that Alabama game So you can see that light show they copied from Georgia from earlier in the year. That should be exciting, without question, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to be on the show this morning, give me a call, 706-786-4481 is the number. What games are you watching? What are you eating? You want to make some money today? Like I said, you got to be careful today because this weather could screw up some games today. I really like Miami minus 18 at home against Georgia Tech, though. Georgia Tech is absolutely terrible. They struggle to score any points at all against anybody. Their only win of the year was against a terrible South Florida team, 24-20, and I think that's the most points they've scored in a game all year. Miami, not a great team, but their defense is still really good, and they're playing N'Kosi Perry at quarterback. I'm not sure if that's a good idea in terms of building for the future, but in terms of winning now, I do think N'Kosi Perry gives them a better shot this year to win a few games. Miami minus 18 seems like easy money to me in that one. I like Oregon minus 2.5. The thing that worries me about that is that it is a rivalry game and it's on the road. I don't think Washington is a terrible team, but they've been very inconsistent this year. They've lost a couple of head-scratching games already. Should be a great quarterback duel, though. Justin Herbert versus Jacob Eason. If I was going to play that game, I would take Oregon minus 2.5. I mean, it's under a field goal. You're getting what I think is clearly the better team in Oregon. But that is a rivalry game, so, keep that in mind if you decide to play that one. Weird things can happen there. I also like another Pac-12 game here, Washington State minus 12.5 at home against Colorado. Colorado started out okay. They've sort of come back down to earth lately over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Washington State's found another quarterback that Mike Leach can put in there to get him 4,500 yards. I like them at home here to win by more than a couple of touchdowns, which would be plenty to cover that 12.5. That one's 7 o'clock on ESPN. And I want to take Florida minus 4.5 in this game at South Carolina. I'm going to check the weather. After I do the live show, I'm going to check the weather and read up a few things on that. But, South Carolina's quarterback situation concerns me with Helinski limping around and that Florida defense. Dan Mullen's only been at Florida for a couple of years, but he's a very experienced head coach overall, having spent 7 or 8 years at Mississippi State. So I think he'll be able to get the Florida team turned around here. After that tough loss last week, they took on the road at LSU. I mean, it's always tough to play back-to-back road games in the SEC. I just don't think South Carolina's a very good team. I know they beat Georgia, but I'll say it for the millionth time. Georgia had 4 turnovers. Georgia didn't get any turnovers. The best kicker in college football who hasn't missed a field goal all year, missed 2 field goals, both of which would have won the game had he made either one of them. It was just anything that could go wrong last week for Georgia went wrong. If you watched that game last week and you came away thinking, wow, South Carolina is really good, I don't know how much hope there is for you in terms of figuring out college football this season. South Carolina is not a good team. They scored 1 offensive touchdown and won the game. They're not very good. Florida hung in there on the road at LSU. They've got a big win over Auburn. Florida is clearly the better team here. It's just very strange to me that this thing's 4.5. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of things that I don't know. Again, so I don't know. Got my new TV set up out here, but I haven't. I got to hook the internet up to it and all that, so I can actually watch it today. So, all right, 706-786-4481 is the number if you want to be on with Uncle Lou. Good morning, Annette, and you're on with Uncle Lou, too.
Good morning, Uncle Lou.
Yeah, good
My
morning.
name's Dan from Gainesville.
What's up,
I'm a
Dan?
Florida fan.
Yes, sir.
One, as regards to that South Carolina line, normally when I see weird lines like that, I feel like Vegas knows something. Just want to stay away from it.
I know. I do the same thing. Like, You know that saying, like, if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. Like, it seems like there's at least 1 or 2 lines a week in college football that you look at and you go, wait a minute, what? That's free money. And you're exactly right. That usually means somebody knows something that I don't know. So it's so tempting to take that Florida. I'll probably end up just staying away from that one. But you make a great point there. You're 100% right there.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a feeling, Florida's on the second of back-to-back road games.
Yeah.
We don't know the status of Zuniga or Grenard. We don't know if Muschamp is playing games with Helinski in terms of hiding the injury report.
Right.
I have a feeling that even though I think that Florida is better, there are ways that Muschamp can make into an ugly game, which he thrives in. And, yeah, I think it'll be a fun game. But otherwise than that, I want to comment, what a year has it been for college football? You have 6 contenders. It's not just Alabama and Clemson like it was last few years, besides the year that your Georgia Bulldogs had a great season. And it just feels very exciting this year.
No, I agree. It seems like there's always a couple of like unexpected storylines or something that pop up during the season that make things interesting. But to me, one thing that makes this season a little bit different than maybe the last couple of seasons is, like, we're halfway through the season. We're really a little bit more. And I honestly think there's 7 or 8 teams that have a legitimate shot to win the national title still this late in the year. And that's unusual. It's usually narrowed down to, 4 or 5 teams at this point in the season that you can look at and go, okay, one of these 4 or 5 teams is probably winning it. But I really think there's 7 or 8 that look really, really good. And it's hard to sort of separate. And it's the obvious 7 or 8 teams, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, LSU, Wisconsin. And then you got even 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams in a tier right after that could still make the playoffs and potentially do something there. So, it's going to be the next month of the season is going to be crazy because you're going to have a lot of these teams that are going to start playing each other.
Yeah, every team is going to have a chance to prove how good they are or aren't.
Right.
You're going to have Ohio State, Wisconsin, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. You might even see craziness with the Iron Bowl again because you never know what's going to happen with Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn gets Georgia and Alabama at home, and we all remember what happened 2 years ago. Everybody wrote Auburn off. They were already on 2 losses heading into that stretch of games at the end of the year, and they ended up pulling off the upset against both Georgia and Alabama and earning their way into the SEC championship game. So you're going to see some weird I don't think Oklahoma is unbeatable even within the Big 12. I think there's a team or two that if everything goes right could even give Oklahoma a game in the regular season. So it's going to be I think Clemson is the only, if I had to put every dime I have on one of the undefeated teams right now finishing the regular season undefeated, it would be Clemson for sure. I don't see them losing a game, but I think it's possible for anyone else to drop a game.
Yeah, Clemson's schedule has been talk of much derision over this season, but I completely agree, Uncle Lou.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. It was really nice talking to you, and I hope you have a great morning.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
The rest of your day too.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Good luck to your Gators today, and I appreciate you calling in, and thanks for watching the show, sir. Enjoy your college football Saturday. Where are we at here? Christian Fields, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. He says, at Brody, whenever I hear your Notre Dame fans claim you deserve a shot at the playoffs, I say put it on a T-shirt. I'm still getting comments in the comment section from Notre Dame fans that think they're making the playoffs this year. It's just not happening. There's just no way. I just got done talking. Normally at this time in the year, you got maybe 4 or 5 teams hovering around there that you say, okay, those are going to be some combination of that 4 or 5 teams are going to make the playoffs. This year you got 7, 8, 9, 10 teams right now that could possibly make the playoffs. And Notre Dame would be 5th in any scenario you look at. They're just not getting in. Even if Notre Dame makes it, let's say a bunch of people lose ahead of Notre Dame over the next month of the season, right? And you've got Notre Dame finishing the regular season at 4 or even 3. They don't play that first Saturday in December, and a lot of top 10 teams are going to be playing that first Saturday in December in these conference championship games. And let's say, for example, let's just put this out there, and I won't even include Georgia because Georgia already beat Notre Dame. But let's say for some reason Ohio State drops a game in the regular season but still wins the division. So they finished the season at 11-1, ranked 5th. And Notre Dame is sitting at 4th. And Ohio State plays a 1-loss or an undefeated Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, which would be ranked in the top 2 at that time, and Ohio State beats them. They will jump Notre Dame. And they should jump Notre Dame if that happens. And that's why Notre Dame's not getting in. I don't see any way they get any higher than 4th or 5th by the end of the season, even if they win out and a bunch of teams ahead of them lose. I can't see Notre Dame getting higher than 4th or 5th. Even if they get to 4th, they will get jumped on conference championship Saturday. It's just going to happen. Notre Dame's not getting in at 11-1. If Notre Dame goes 11-1, they will have lost to the best team they played, Georgia, and their best win would be against Michigan, who is probably going to be ranked either in the 20s at the end of the season or unranked, especially if they lose today. Because if they lose today, they're going to finish with at least 3 losses because they won't beat Ohio State. So I just don't see a way Notre Dame gets in. Thank you for the super chat. Jesse Stacy, thank you for the super chat. Good morning, Uncle Lou. Hard to get up for the game. Of course, he's an Alabama fan, so you're talking about the Tennessee game. Well, it's a night game, so don't tell Nick Saban that it's hard for you to get up for the game, because Nick Saban has been beating his war drum all season long about wanting a night game and how it's not fair that you had to play all those early games. So don't let Nick Saban know that you're having a hard time getting up for this game, or he'll call you out in one of his temper tantrum press conferences. Plus, you get to look at that. You get to look at that laser show that they copied from Georgia. You can see that tonight, too. So thank you for the super chat, Jesse Stacy. And Bad Dog Sports, good morning to you, sir. Best college video maker on YouTube. Can UJ still make the playoffs if they win out? Yeah. Now, can they win out is a much more difficult question to answer. If they win out, there shouldn't be any doubt in anyone's mind they will get in the playoffs. Any one-loss SEC champion will get in the playoffs. So who's that right now? Florida, Georgia. If Florida or Georgia, either one, went out and win the SEC, they would get in the college football playoff. Missouri has 1 loss to Wyoming, the worst loss of any one-loss team. If they went out, they would get in the college football playoff. Any one-loss SEC champ would definitely get in the playoff. There's just no way a one-loss SEC champ gets left out. It just won't happen. All right, back to the phone lines here. See what you guys have to say this morning. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, good morning, Uncle Lou. Tyrants 5 here, Sooner fan. Had to wake up again early this morning for another 11 a.m. kickoff. Woohoo.
I was talking with somebody about that yesterday. What a shame. Last night, the premier team in the Big Ten gets stuck playing on a Friday night. I mean, I know it wasn't a marquee game, but still. I don't understand why the ACC and the Big Ten have signed these television contracts requiring them to play Thursday or Friday night games. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't see the SEC doing that. Ohio State should not be playing on a Friday night. Those weekday games should be reserved for teams who struggle to get viewers, who need exposure. It's not good for the Big Ten to have their premier team playing at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. It's just not. And then you have a whole series of huge games in both the Big Ten and the Big 12, all at noon Eastern, which is 11 a.m. local, where it's being played. It just doesn't make any sense at all. They really need to look and do a better job, I think, of trying to schedule some of their big games in the Big Ten, because this is the best the Big Ten has been in a while, I think. I mean, I think Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Penn State are 100% legitimate top 10 teams, and I do think Ohio State and Wisconsin are a little above Penn State, but not much. But, those are 3 legit teams in the Big Ten. And, yeah, we're getting some good primetime games, but like you said, too many of these big games are going to be, noon East Coast time.
Yeah, that's the problem I've had mostly because it seems like Oklahoma is always plagued with the 11 a.m. kickoffs. Like we've had it last year, and plus with the Big 12 championship when they had to play it at 11 a.m. too, or noon. I forgot when they did it, but it was like stupid. It's like, why do you play the Big 12 championship, probably much better than the Pac-12 championship?
Oh, without
and you play that at night?
Yeah, without a
Are
doubt.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Now, a lot of this stuff is dictated by TV networks, but the thing is, you sign a contract agreeing to all this stuff. So like Ohio State playing on a Friday last night, or when Clemson had to play on a Friday a couple of years ago, these contracts are signed and like I'm not sure the details of the of the Big Ten one, but with the ACC deal, every team was required to play a Friday game. I mean, it just made no sense. I mean, you got to do a better job scheduling these marquee games, either at the 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern slot or the 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern slot. Now, it's impossible to put every great game on at 3 or 7. I get that. But with the Big Ten and the Big 12, you've just got way too many of the best games coming on either at noon or in the case of the Pac-12, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So now the Pac-12, give the Pac-12 some credit. They figured out a way to get Oregon and Washington on at 3:30 Eastern. That's amazing. That's great. That's perfect. A lot of times this game would be coming on at 10:30 at night, and this is a legitimately good game, the Oregon and Washington. I know the Pac-12 is down, but this is their premier game of the year, Oregon and Washington. So, they found a way to do it.
Yeah, 2:30, and then I don't know why they decided to put Rutgers in Minnesota at 2:30. That's a more important game.
I guess.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Mississippi State and LSU might be good.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
No. You want to watch a 2:30 game on ESP2 on SMU and Temple? No.
Well,
I don't even own
actually,
that channel.
that may end up being one of the best games of the day. I know the teams aren't, not a lot of people care about those two teams, but both those teams are sitting on one loss. Those are good teams. They're just not marquee names.
Yeah, I mean, Appalachian State is doing good too against Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were 5-0.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I think they
Might
have
watch
a new coaching
Baylor
staff too.
State though.
Yeah.
That might be a good game too, and I think TCU and Kansas State play as well at like 1:30.
Yeah, there's some good games in the Big 12 this week.
Yeah, I mean, I got TCU winning Kansas State, and I also got I got Baylor beating Oklahoma State.
Yeah, you're an Oklahoma fan. You're an Oklahoma fan. I had an Oklahoma fan call in. I think it was Thursday night. So I want to ask you too. What are Big 12 people thinking about Baylor right now? They're undefeated over halfway through the season. I don't think they're a great team, but I do think they're better than what a lot of people thought they were going to be. Do they worry you at all as an Oklahoma fan?
To be honest, to answer that, to me, they don't really bother me at all. But if Baylor keeps winning out and if they keep progressing over time, because I think they'll be mightily dangerous. But then when we have to play, because I know when Oklahoma has to play them in Waco, it's going to probably be a big environment. It's going to be like that one time. I forgot when we played them, when Baylor was number 6 in the country. And
right.
When we had Baker Mayfield, I think it was like 2015, I think, when we played them.
Yeah.
But, hey, we won that game, intercepted them and everything.
Yeah.
But overall, I think Baylor's a pretty decent, solid team going forward. And then I think they're probably going to keep winning until they get to Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma beats them. Because I don't see Oklahoma losing another game.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's probably going to run the table too. They handled Texas.
Pretty good.
Yeah, if Oklahoma loses a game, it's going to be one of those Georgia South Carolina situations where just nobody sees it coming, because they appear to clearly. I even think Oklahoma is clearly better than Texas this year, even more so than last year. Like, it was a little bit of a surprise when you lost to Texas in the regular season last year, just because Texas had been down for so long, and a lot of people weren't expecting that. But I think the gap between Oklahoma and Texas is bigger this year than it was last year. I don't think Texas is as good as they were last year. Defensively, they've really taken a step back, and that's what was carrying Texas. Really was their defense. They outside of Ellinger, they just don't have anything on offense that worries anybody.
Yeah, and plus that Red River rivalry, or the shootout as I call it. I don't call it the showdown or whatever. Because when we played them, we were dominating Texas in the first half and everything. Our defense was like pressuring Ellinger. We were covering well. We were tackling in space. Because the other time when we played, when we had Kyler Murray, we couldn't do jack diddly squat. Because Mike Stoops, let's be honest, running the two-gap system and trying to make things complicated is stupid.
Yeah.
To be honest, this isn't the NFL. So why don't you stop? So, because I know Grinch, when I saw all that, they stacked them 9 times today. I mean, the last Red River stacked them that many times. That's like, Jesus Christ. Plus, like I said last night, because I did call in last Thursday, Kenneth Murray, beast, has amazing numbers. He is playing out of his mind. I think he's going to have another good game today at West Virginia. He's probably going to stack Alston Kendall a few times.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for the call. Good luck to your Sooners today. Enjoy your college football Saturday, sir. Let's see, a couple more super chats here, and then back to the phones. Kenny Powerful, thank you for the super chat, sir. He says Georgia isn't elite. I just wanted to hear you say it. Well, there you go. Thank you, sir. Jay Wade, thank you for the super chat. Must respect to South Carolina for last week's win, but got to take UF with that spread. Yeah, it does seem like an odd spread. I mean, South Carolina's just not a good team. I did what I was supposed to do when that game was over. I gave South Carolina all the credit. They dominated us on the line of scrimmage. They created turnovers, blah, blah. I did all that right after the game like I was supposed to. But at some point, you have to just look at the game and be rational and reasonable and go, South Carolina's just not very good, and they're just not. So Florida should win that game, but it's just weird to me that it's 4.5. Florida's coming off a tough loss on the road at LSU. Weather could be an issue there in that game. I know it's pouring down rain here, and I'm an hour from Columbia. So I have to assume it's going to be some weather issues there, although I have not checked the weather for Columbia, but I'm only an hour from there. I'm assuming it's going to be wet there, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But thank you for the super chat, sir. Let's see. Robert Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Vegas is betting on the weather with the Florida versus South Carolina game. Yeah, here we go. Florida speed will not be a factor in a monsoon. Go Boom Chickens. This could be reminiscent of last year's South Carolina-Missouri game. If you remember the South Carolina-Missouri game, which was played about this same time last year, I believe. Missouri wasn't a great team, but Missouri was clearly a better team than South Carolina last year. Drew Lock was throwing for 300 a game. They show up in Columbia to play a terrible South Carolina team. Absolute monsoon and downpour. There were multiple weather delays in that game, lightning delays. It was just a complete mess. I remember watching that game on TV, and you literally couldn't see 15 yards down the field. And, of course, Missouri couldn't do anything offensively. You can't throw the ball if you can't see. And South Carolina ended up getting a win there. Now, obviously, Florida is a much better team this year than what Missouri was last year. But it's a similar sort of setup here that we're starting to see heading into this Florida-South Carolina game. Thank you guys for the super chat. So we get back on the phones here. Oh, yeah, good morning, Nat. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning, Uncle Lou. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Big Dog fan. The previous caller just said something about the Temple SMU game not being that interesting. I'm not gonna lie, that's probably the one I'm gonna be watching at 3:30 today. I feel like because their names are Temple and SMU, a lot of people are sleeping on them, but I don't know. I'm excited for that game. SMU is 9-point favorites. I don't know. It might be a little too much, but what's your opinion on that game? You going to be watching that at all?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a one-score game. If I play that game, I'll take Temple. Temple's a really good team. They're not getting the attention and the headlines that SMU is getting because SMU is undefeated. Or no, do they have one loss? Yeah, they have one loss, don't they?
Yeah, Temple has a loss, yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, SMU seems to be getting a lot more attention than Temple, but Temple is a really good team. Their only loss was to, I think it was Buffalo. And Buffalo, I mean, you're saying it's Buffalo. Buffalo's not a terrible team, obviously not great, but Temple has looked really good this year at times. I think that will be a great game. Now, the crowd could have an effect on this game. It's at SMU, and this is the biggest home game SMU has had in a long, long time. But if I play that game, I would take the 9 points and Temple in 2.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Temple just came off that big win against Memphis. SMU had a bye week before this, and they escaped Tulsa. But I mean, they've had some pretty good wins too with TCU, and I mean, their offenses look good. I mean, the lowest amount they scored all season was 37, and that was against Arkansas State in week 1.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know Temple's defense isn't, outstanding, but I mean, it's not a bad defense either. I know SMU's defense has been struggling. Another thing I want to talk about is what do you think is going to happen with Georgia this season? Obviously everyone knows they got a tough stretch ahead. You got Florida, Missouri, Auburn, and then if they win all that, then get the SEC championship. But I think honestly that we can beat Florida and beat Auburn. I feel like if we drop one, though, honestly, the biggest game that really scares me is that Missouri game. Missouri's looked really good ever since week 1, and I don't know. I feel like this is a sleeper game, kind of like how the South Carolina game was for us. But
yeah,
I mean, what's your thoughts on that? How do you think the season's going to go?
I'm not going to change my mind or let Georgia off the hook because of what happened last week. Georgia is head and shoulders the most talented team in the SEC East. No other team is even close, not even Florida. They looked really bad last week, Georgia did. It was a inexplicable loss that should not have happened. But I'm not going to let them off the hook by adjusting my expectations now based off that last game. Georgia should go out and beat Kentucky by 40 points today. They should take the week off. They should beat Florida by 2 to 3 touchdowns. They should beat Texas A&M by 3 to 4 touchdowns. They should beat Missouri by 2 to 3 touchdowns. Now, the Auburn game, I'll be happy with a 1-point win at Auburn just because Kirby Smart's never won a game on the road in the SEC West. But I think Georgia is clearly a 2 or 3 touchdown better team than Auburn. And Georgia Tech will beat by as much as we want to. I'm not going to let Georgia off the hook by trying to adjust my expectations now. They're by far the most talented team in the East. And if Georgia does not win the East, it will be an epic failure of a season. There will be no sugarcoating it. There will be no, but wait till next year. If Georgia doesn't win the East this year, it's an epic failure and a disappointment, period. And they better not do that. They better not drop the ball here.
All right. And then let's say they do win out the regular season, make it to the SEC championship game. Where they play LSU or Alabama. One of those teams are probably going to be ranked number 1. But let's just say if Georgia was to beat LSU or Auburn in the championship game, do you think, or LSU and Alabama, do you think that do you think LSU or Alabama would still get in, say they go 12-0 but lose the SEC championship game? Because like I said, they're probably going to be ranked 1 at the time.
Yeah.
Georgia beats them. Do you think the committee is going to slide LSU or Bama, whoever it is, at number 4? Or do you think they'll drop them out completely?
I think it's possible. It's impossible to know right now, though. It's going to depend what happens in the Big 10 and the Big 12, right? Because the issue would be, what if Oklahoma? I asked the last caller about this. What do you think about Baylor? What if Oklahoma loses to Baylor, but wins the Big 12, and they're sitting at 12-1 with a loss to Baylor? And Alabama or LSU, like you mentioned, is also sitting there at 12-1 with a loss to Georgia in the SEC title game, like you mentioned. I'm not sure what the playoff committee would do in that situation if it came down to a 1-loss Oklahoma or a 1-loss second-place SEC team. Same thing in the Big 10, right? So I think it depends how some of these other – I think you have to assume Clemson's going undefeated and getting in no matter what. I think you have to assume at this point that Notre Dame is not getting in. So that leaves the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. I doubt anyone's getting in from the Pac-12. Oregon, I think, is their only hope at one loss, but I don't see them like. I do think if it came down to a second SEC team or a one-loss Pac-12 team, I think the SEC would definitely get in that scenario over the Pac-12. But if it comes down to an SEC team versus a Big 12 or Big 10 champion with one loss, then I think probably the SEC does not get two teams in.
All right. And one more thing, I know I've been on here for a little bit. I also want to talk to you about Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong about that. I know the Georgia fans are about to come out here and attacking me. This whole elite talk, though, I don't know about you, but I cannot stand that Jake Fromm is elite. He has 4 or 5-star receivers across the board. And I'll go back and I'll watch film sometimes. And yes, his receivers haven't really been doing a good job helping him out. But I just don't think Jake Fromm has the arm. He has all the mental game in the world. You know, he's one of the smartest players in college football. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think he has that arm to be an elite quarterback. And I don't really see what all these NFL scouts are hyping up for, you know. Do you think he's going to be back next year? Or do you think he's going to go to the draft?
I think it's hard if you get a first-round grade not to go. But I'm with you. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I see all the same articles and mock drafts and all these kinds of things that you do. Having watched every single second of every single Georgia game that Jake Fromm has ever played, I don't see it either. Again, he's a good quarterback. He's the best game manager in college football, but he is a game manager. He's not an elite game-changing, playmaking quarterback. And I agree with you on his arm, too. And you got some Georgia fans that always push back on that and say, well, look at this such and such in game. He threw the ball 60 yards. Yeah, way up in the air. That an NFL arm doesn't mean you can throw the ball 60 yards. It means you can throw the ball 30 yards on a rope, and he can't do that. There's a reason we don't ever throw the ball over the middle, or very rarely, or very occasionally. It's the most dangerous place on the football field to throw the ball because it's crowded. Jake Fromm lives on out routes and go routes. Other than that, it's swing passes, hitch passes. So, I mean, I kind of agree with you there. I'm not dogging Jake Fromm. Like you said, he is a good quarterback.
Jake Fromm's a good quarterback.
He just outside of the – now, he lost the South Carolina game, period. There's no way around it. But outside of that, in his time at Georgia, he's never lost a game for Georgia, I don't think. I don't think there's any other games you can point at and say, well, that's his fault. Yeah, he played bad against LSU. He played bad against Auburn in 2017. But there were lots of other things that went wrong in those games, too. To me, the South Carolina game was clearly on Jake Fromm. He looked off. He looked bad. Four turns. I mean, listen, if a quarterback turns the ball over 4 times in a game, he has to accept some blame for the loss, period. I don't care. You list all the excuses anybody wants about the wide receivers or whatever. Turn the ball over 4 times, you deserve to lose, and that's what happened. But typically speaking, he doesn't lose you any games. But I can't point to any game ever that he's ever won either. Not a single one. I can't find one. We're winless anytime he throws the ball 30 times or more. We're winless anytime we rush for less than 4 yards per carry. So when everything else is working good, you can generally count on Jake Fromm not to screw it up for you. But he's not an elite game-changing. I mean, the most touchdowns he's ever had in a year is 30. That was last year. Justin Fields scored his 30th touchdown yesterday. Okay? So it's time to stop pretending, as far as making that comparison goes. So he's not going to win you any games. You have to hope that he doesn't lose it. And generally speaking, he hasn't. Now, South Carolina being the exception there. But generally speaking, he doesn't lose you any games. He is very smart. He gets you in and out of the right running plays. It just doesn't impress me to see a third-year starting quarterback that can walk up to the line of scrimmage and be smart enough to change the play from a run up the middle to the left side to a run up the middle to the right side based on where the linebackers are lying or whatever. That just doesn't impress me, and that's not winning any games. Tim Tebow couldn't complete a pass in the NFL. Ask Florida fans if they care. They don't, because he was one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time, and that's what Georgia needs. Georgia needs an elite college football quarterback.
All right. Hopefully, Carson Beck can, really come out next year and start slinging the ball around. I mean, that's really what we need is a quarterback with an arm.
Yeah.
We are a grown man's passing game away from being the most dominant team in college football, hands down.
I agree, 100%. We're not going to get any more talented than we are right now, so it's time to go for broke. So I'm with you. So, but hey, thank you for the call. Enjoy your Saturday. Some good games on today. What time is it? Okay, we got some time here. A couple more super chats, then we'll get back to the calls here. Where are we at? OJ is white Bronco. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Trolling aside, you put on a great show, Lou. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It may look like I just hit record and start blabbering, but believe it or not, a lot of work does go into these live shows. So I'm glad you appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Captain Trips, good morning, sir. How you been, buddy? He says maybe the rain will help cover up the smell in Columbia. Have to be a lot of rain to cover that up. Fried butter and disappointment is what it smells like up there, Williams Bryce Trailer Park. Tyrants 5, thank you for the super chat, sir. He says, hey, Lou, great phone call as always, and keep up the great work, man. Boomer sooner. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. Glad you got through. Slim Shady Canes. How many Seminoles does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1, but he gets 4 credits for it. Is that really a class? I know, tightrope is a class down there, and like the trapeze is a class. Clowning is a class down there. Because if you don't know, Florida State has a circus college. It's not a joke. That's not trash talk. That's just legitimate. You can major in circus at Florida State. So if you have a hankering to be shot out of a cannon, if you want to be one of those motorcycle people that drives around inside a steel cage, if you've ever wanted to know the secrets and the tricks behind how they fit 45 clowns inside one of those little bitty Mr. Bean cars, apply to Florida State Clown College, and you will find all that out. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Darren McCardle, thank you for the super chat. SMU and Baylor should have their first loss this week. It's possible. I have a feeling Baylor pulls it off today against Oklahoma State. We'll see. But too tough. I mean, those are both potential losses for sure. SMU plays Temple. Baylor plays, Oklahoma State. So, both those teams are capable of beating both SMU and Baylor. So we'll see. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Jesse Stacy, Fromm reminds me of McCarron. Yeah, I say that all the time. Jake Fromm is A.J. McCarron. He's Greg McElroy. The problem is it's 2019. It's not 2010. That's the problem. And even Nick Saban figured out that he needed to find a way to do more offensively if he wanted to keep winning on a big, in a big way in modern college football, right? So what does he do? He goes out, he hires Lane Kiffin, one of the most innovative offensive minds. He starts bringing in dual threat quarterbacks. And even more importantly than that, it's not just that he started bringing in dual threat quarterbacks. He started bringing in playmaking quarterbacks. And the thing about Nick Saban, that he hates turnovers. And he's a defensive guy who those people tend to be conservative in terms of offensive mindset. When you make a decision to play someone like a Tua or a Blake Sims or Jalen Hurts, you're gonna get a lot of upside there. You're gonna get a lot of big time plays. There's a lot of upside that comes to that. There's also a lot more risk involved in running that type of offense. But Saban looked around and said, "I got to figure out a way to start scoring more points." So you got to give Saban a lot of credit for that. I said this the other day, and I think I said it on the Mark Rogers show when I was on his show the other day. The more successful someone becomes in life doing things the way they're doing it, the harder it is for that person to change, because why should they, right? I mean, they've gotten where they've gotten by doing things their way. Why should they change? So it becomes very hard for someone to change the more success they have. And that's why I think you got to give Nick Saban a ton of credit for basically in one year deciding to completely change his offensive mindset and philosophy, right? He had multiple national titles at different schools. Why should he change? But he did. And you got to give him a lot of credit for that. And LSU has made that same decision now this year. And Kirby Smart and Georgia need to make that decision very soon, or they're going to get left behind. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Tomahawk 238, where'd you find that hat? I ordered this online. It's a 47 brand. I don't even know if that's I don't care about brands of hats. I have a Russell one of my favorite Georgia hats I have is a Russell Athletic hat, and people make fun of me every time I wear it on here. He's got a Russell Athletic hat on. I really don't care. I'm 41 years old. I could care less what brand the hat is. But I ordered this online from fanatics.com. And if you're looking for it, it's 47 brand. Again, I don't know if that's a good brand or a terrible brand. That's not the point. But you asked about it, so that's what it is. I ordered 2 new hats at the beginning of the season. This one and one other one, both from Fanatics. I think they were both 47. But they have some good hats on there. They're expensive. That's the downside. I'm ordering from there. The hats are expensive. They were having a sale in August, like a kickoff sale or a preseason sale or something. And that's when I ordered them. But so they're usually pretty expensive. I think they're like $30 a piece or something. I think I got them for $20 or something. I don't know what they are now, but you can find them on fanatics.com. All right. There's 5 people on hold. Those are going to be the last 5 calls. Okay, so if you're listening, don't waste your time calling in now. So area code 469, you're fixing to be up, and then 423. And then 801, and then 734, and then 832. You will be the last call. All right, let's get back on it here. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. All right, they dropped off. Their loss, and 423's gain. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What's going on, Lou? Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
Hello?
Yeah, barely, though. Sounds like you're talking in
Is that better now?
Timberland boot. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was. I got a better microphone now. Okay, so I'm just wondering why you still have Georgia in your top 10.
Same reason everyone else does. They're a top 10 team. The AP has them in the top 10. The coaches have them in the top 10. Sports Illustrated has them. I mean, literally everyone has them in the top 10. So
will your opinion change when Florida taps the tater today and, proves how bad of a team South Carolina actually is?
No, everyone knows how bad of a team South Carolina actually is. Was Florida a top 10 team last year? Okay, he dropped off. Florida was a top 10 team last year. I don't think anyone disputes that. They got blown out by a 7-win Missouri team. So losses happen. But right now Georgia deserves to be in the top 10. They have a win over another top 10 team, and they've blown out everyone else they've played with the exception of the head-scratching loss to South Carolina. But it doesn't mean they don't deserve to be in the top 10. I mean, I get this all the time. This guy's just a Georgia homer. That's why he has Georgia in the top 10. And meanwhile, they're in the top 10 in the AP, the coaches, and all these. And so I guess the AP and the coaches are Georgia homers too. But anyway, thank you for calling up and breathing heavy into the phone. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning, Uncle Lou.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, love the show. This is Jordan Kepler, Ohio State Buckeyes fan here.
Yeah, what's up, Jordan?
I'm kind of disappointed in you, man. I know you're a closet Buckeyes fan, so I'm just waiting on these hype and hate week videos for like Ohio State and Wisconsin. When are those coming out?
I only do hype and hate week videos for other teams when Georgia is off. Like I did one for Tennessee a few weeks ago when they played BYU because Georgia was off. Now, just so happens Georgia's off next week, so you wouldn't happen to know. You wouldn't happen to know if Ohio State has a big game next week, would you?
It's been a few weeks since I looked through the schedule. I can take a peek again and see and let you know. But I think that they do. It's 85, 15% sure. We'll see.
Yeah. Where's that game at?
It's at home. It's at Columbus.
Oh,
and
y'all are
it's a
gonna
new
roll.
Game, so
yeah, y'all gonna roll.
It's gonna be a good one though. I mean, you're talking maybe a top 10 team easily, or top 10 matchup. Excuse me. See where the Ohio State Buckeyes land after the drubbing that they put on Northwestern last night. Kind of a question about that game last night. Just want to get your opinion. What kind of takeaways can you have when a undefeated team just thrashes a 1-4 or a 1-5 team? I mean, the comparisons are so skewed. What is something that you could take away from something like that?
Well, the thing, and this sort of gets back to the whole who have you played thing that we love to talk about so much on this channel. But if you play a really bad team like Northwestern, all you can do is blow them out. Like, what else can you do? I mean, it's not like you went out and scheduled a bad Northwestern team. I mean, you have to play them. So and besides that, I know they don't look like a good team this year, and they're not. But what did Wisconsin do against them? Wasn't that a weird 17-9 game? I mean, it was a weird game. It was 17-9 or 16-7. It was something weird like that, and that was at Northwestern. And I even said when I talked about this game this week, I said taking Ohio State would be dangerous here because the whole Friday night thing. You see a lot of highly ranked teams lose on the road on Friday nights, and Ohio State went out and just absolutely destroyed them. And again, the people who are looking for a reason not to give Ohio State any credit, or the people who hate Justin Fields or whatever, are going to say, well, who cares? It's Northwestern. They're a one-win team. That doesn't impress me. Okay, fine. South Carolina was a 2-win team last week. How did that work out for Georgia? So, which would you rather, Would you rather see a really good team go out and beat a bad team by 45 points? Or would you rather see Georgia go out and lose at home to South Carolina? So, who have they played? Well, you beat. I mean, y'all are averaging 50 points a game. But who have they played?
Right.
Listen, Ohio State's the best team in college football. I don't know why that is so hard for people to say at this point. I guess people just don't watch a lot of college football. I don't know. Maybe I know there's a lot of people that only watch their team, and then maybe there's some other people that only watch the conference that their team is in. I don't know. But if anybody has watched college football every single week of the year this season, there is one team that is clearly the best team right now, and it's Ohio State. Period. Ohio State would be favored against anybody they played on a neutral field tomorrow. I'd be willing. I would bet money on it. They would be favored.
I'd agree with that.
That doesn't mean they're going 15-0 and winning at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not. They might, but right now at this point in the season, with what you have to look at, they have no weaknesses. They've had no games where the offense looked bad. They've had no games where the defense looked bad. They've just gone out and absolutely destroyed every single team they've played. And they've played multiple teams with better defenses than anybody Georgia has played. And they have no problem putting up 45 and 50 points a game. It's just they look like Clemson last year. That's what they look like to me right now. With a better quarterback. I just say it. Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence right now. But so they look like a national championship team right now. But the season's only halfway over, and they've got some tough games. Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, right? So you got some tough games. So we'll see how it works out. But right now, through this point in the season, they're the best team.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think is going to be a tougher matchup for them, Wisconsin or Penn State?
Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's a better team than Penn State, so I would say Wisconsin. Where do you play Penn State?
We play them in Columbus as well.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man! How did y'all get this? How did y'all work all this out? This is unbelievable.
Well, so it alternates every year.
Oh, so I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is just crazy that
the way the cards fell this year certainly was in favor. I mean, that's going to be a good game tonight too. Is seeing what Penn State does against a pretty highly rated Michigan defense.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting. But the talk around the Big Ten has always been that Northwestern is like Wisconsin light or Michigan State light in terms of their defense. And to see what they did last night was just incredible. So to compare and contrast to what Wisconsin did the following week to Northwestern, it does raise some questions, but you can't deny Wisconsin's number 6 for a reason. They're an elite team. They've got a great defense, and it's going to be a heck of a matchup next week, that's for sure. So I don't want to take any more of your time. I appreciate you taking the call. Go Buckeyes. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do last night, and now it's just getting prepped for next week. So love the show, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks for the call, Jordan. I really appreciate it. And, yeah, you get to take it easy today without having to get nervous about anything and just watch everybody else play because your team already rolled last night. Okay, let me run through these last couple of calls, and then I will catch up on the Super Chats, okay? So you guys with Super Chats, don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm just trying to run through these calls. You people have been on hold for a long time. So good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning, Uncle Lou. This is Tom from Michigan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Tom? I'm doing pretty good. You?
Hey, good, thanks. Michigan fan, and it feels like I'm on death row right now because the execution's at midnight, and the last meal will be about 3 o'clock, and all you got to do is sit all morning and think about it,
So you don't have a whole lot of confidence in Michigan pulling off a win tonight on the road in Happy Valley?
Well, the last couple of years has been bad blood between Penn State and Michigan, each team trying to run it up. I mean, Michigan tried doing it last year at Michigan Stadium, so
yeah.
Penn State wants every ounce of blood they can get tonight. So.
Yeah, and Michigan hasn't had much luck in big games really in a while.
No.
So I don't blame people. I don't blame people for being high on Penn State in this game, but I mean I still think Michigan is a good team. I can't figure out. I mean I keep getting made to look like an idiot because I keep hyping up Michigan every offseason and then they come out and do the same things over and over, but I can't figure out what the issue. I still think Michigan is one of the most talented teams in America, especially defensively. Even on offense, I mean, they've got great wide receivers. It's just hard to figure out what's going on with Michigan in big games. It just really, really is.
It is. And if I could go on a different topic real quick, when you were talking about Friday night games and the Big Ten and everything, I'm not a big fan of it. And Mark D'Antonio, I'm not a fan of him, but he brought up a couple good points. First off, what he said, if we're going to do this, he wants all the Friday Labor Day games, which was a genius move because it's a 3-day weekend. The NFL hasn't started. So you get a whole holiday where it's basically a wash because every college team is playing different days during that weekend. But the biggest thing he said was you're basically losing a week of recruiting high school sports because you're not having your coaches go to high schools across the country. So you're losing a week of recruiting. I mean, not all these kids make high school national championships and playoff games. There's only an X amount of games you can see on them, and that's an excellent point.
Yeah, no, you're right. To me, the only time it's a benefit, I think, for a team to play a weekday game, whether that be Thursday or Friday night, is sort of a lower level team that's maybe not as well known nationally, but like a team like Ohio State Ohio State has a national brand. Literally everyone knows about Ohio State, but to use the Big Ten as an example, since that's what we're talking about. But so like Northwestern, okay, fine. If put Northwestern on a Friday, put Purdue, Iowa, Illinois, but I mean, can you imagine Alabama playing Ole Miss on a Friday night? I mean, it just would never happen. Like the SEC would just never allow that to happen, and the Big Ten shouldn't either.
No, it's a pure money grab.
Right.
And like I live down the street from Western Michigan up here, and they come in Tuesday, Wednesday night for MAC games, which is fine because it's a big party around here. ESPN's in town, let's do our thing, party out. Don't go to work the next day because we can't. It's a good time, But, like, for the Big Ten, it's just a money grab.
Yeah, they are. They need to figure something out and do better. But hey, thank you for the call. I'm gonna let you go, Tom. Try to get these last couple of callers on. Enjoy
All right,
your
have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. Enjoy your Saturday. Some good games today. Is this Jared? Yeah. Good morning, in that.
What's up, Lou? It's CFB Jared.
Yeah. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much, but I got two questions for you. Looking at the Michigan schedule, they have Penn State today, and then they have Notre Dame next week, and then in a few weeks they got Ohio State. Do you think, say, if they lose to Penn State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, that Harbaugh would be out of the job?
I think no matter what happens this season, short of by some miracle Michigan ends up winning the Big Ten, anything short of that, I think Michigan has to ask some tough questions. I know that it's easy to forget, but Michigan was not good at all really before Harbaugh for a long time. So Harbaugh, they're better now, but it's sort of the Mark Richt disease. Like, you become a victim of your own success at some point. Like, okay, so Harbaugh inherited a team that was winning 7 or 8 games a year, and now he's winning 9 or 10. That's great the first couple of years, but fans' expectations shift after a while. Now 9 or 10 wins, whereas they were happy with that in year 1 or 2, now they're not. And they shouldn't be. And really worse than that, winless against Ohio State, can't win the division. At some point he's got to do that, or Michigan's going to have to make a tough decision. Now you hear all the time, well, who are they going to get? Who are they going to hire? That's not a reason to keep a coach, in my opinion. If a coach is not doing what you think he should be doing, you should fire him. And then, these colleges have these search firms and all this kind of stuff, and you go out and you get the best available coach that you can get. I don't know what Michigan's going to end up doing after this season with Harbaugh, but I think they're going to have to really think about, where they're going and what they're doing. And zero improvement on offense with Shea Patterson returning is just unacceptable.
Definitely. Yeah, and I honestly think Harbaugh's gone after this year, just because I don't know if he can really do much if you lose to Penn State and Notre Dame, Ohio State. I definitely think he's gone after this year. But then also Ohio State. I know you mentioned how they're definitely like a national championship team right now, and yeah, of course they haven't played anyone really, but in my poll I put them as number 1, and I had some people complaining about that, but it's like, regardless of who they played, they've looked amazing. They don't have any weaknesses that we've seen so far. Chase Young in that defense and Justin Fields in the offense both look amazing. So until they really show a weakness, I still think they should be ranked number 1 in my opinion. And of course they haven't played anyone, but they're doing what they're supposed to, and they're doing it really nice.
Yeah, I've had them number 1 in my poll for, I think, 3 weeks now. I mean, to me, they're just clearly have been the best team week in and week out. Like I said a few minutes ago, they don't appear to have any weaknesses. Their offense and their there's not a single game where the offense played bad. There's not a single game where the defense played bad. They have a Heisman candidate quarterback. They've got the best player in all of college football on defense in Chase Young. So, I think they look really, really good at this point. But Jared, thank you for the call. Enjoy your Saturday watching college football, sir. All right, this is going to be the last call coming up right here. Oh yeah, good morning.
Hey, hey, good morning. Good morning, Uncle Lou. I just want to talk some Georgia football with you.
All right, let's do it.
All right, yeah. Hey, so, what does Georgia have to do this year to beat Florida? Like, what do you think they got to do?
The same thing they've been doing the last couple of years: run the ball well and not turn the ball over.
Yeah, exactly, correct. Yeah, I heard you mention about Georgia needing to work in their passing game. Do you think there's any way they can do that this season, or do you still think that?
I really don't. I think I think the changes that need to be. I think a complete overhaul of Georgia's passing scheme and philosophy is what needs to happen, and I don't think you can do that during the season. Maybe you can add a few wrinkles here or there, but I don't think the changes that need to happen can be made during the season.
Yeah, I agree. I remember you said something that you thought that Kirby Smart, he just did. I think he said something about he just wanted to run the exact same thing, and the running game's been great. Don't get me wrong; they've done well. Even last week when they lost to South Carolina, they ran the ball well. But it's like what you said, when they were in situations where they had to throw the ball, they just couldn't get anything done last weekend. They just they need to work on it. So you said to beat Florida, play really good defense, and then run the ball with success and not turn the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we've handled Florida pretty easily the last couple of years, and that's sort of how we've done it. Now, Jake Fromm did play really good against Florida last year. He threw the ball well in that game. He even threw it to the tight end a couple of times, which is very unusual for Jake Fromm. But generally speaking, this year anyway, because I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Georgia's passing game against good defenses right now. As much as I've been complaining about wanting Georgia to sort of open it up passing-wise, it's just obvious that they don't know what they're doing when they do that. So the best bet might be to just run, and let that take us as far as it can, because I just don't see Georgia doing a whole lot through the air right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But thanks for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. It was good talking to you, and you have a good day, Uncle Lou.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Enjoy your Saturday, sir. All right, that's going to be it for the phone calls. Let me run through some more of these super chats and that, and this too. Let's see, what is this? Yes, and two, and also. Okay, where are we at here? Okay, I'm a little bit behind. I'm going to run through all these, though. Darren McCardle, thank you for the super chat, sir. He says, this is my top three conferences. Number 1, Big Ten. Number 2, SEC. Number 3, Big 12. I think those are clearly the best three conferences. We could probably spend all day arguing about what order they should be in. Other than the Big 12 is obviously third, I think. But there can be cases made, I think, for both the Big Ten and the SEC in the one spot. But I don't think anyone is wrong right now, no matter which one they put number 1 between the Big Ten and the SEC. I think those are clearly the two best conferences right now. I think Big 12 is clearly the third best conference. And I think the Pac-12 and the ACC are pretty close. ACC gets a bump because of Clemson. The Pac-12 doesn't have anybody they can put in that category like the ACC does, although they've got a handful of pretty. I think the Pac-12 has more good teams than the ACC. Yeah, I think they do. Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Utah. Don't you think Oregon, Washington? Well, we'll say Oregon, Washington, and Utah. Aren't all three of those teams better than the second best team in the ACC? So I would probably put the Pac-12 4 and the ACC 5 right now, even though the ACC clearly has one of the best teams in all of college football in Clemson. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Who Dat Gator 228. Temple got paid to get rid of Manny. Business is booming. That may end up being the best thing that ever happened to Temple, was losing out on Manny Diaz, right? You guys remember he was the head coach at Temple for about 6 days. You guys remember? Right? After last season, Manny Diaz was defensive coordinator at Miami. At the end of last season, Temple hired him as head coach. Was it 5 or 6 days later? Miami got rid of Mark Richt and offered the job to Manny Diaz, and Manny Diaz told Temple he was just kidding. Jumped back in his U-Haul and drove back down to South Beach. You guys remember that? But that may end up being the best thing to happen to them because they look pretty good this year, and Miami's a dumpster fire. So Although Miami will roll today, at least I hope they will. They're only an 18.5-point favorite over Georgia Tech. I have a feeling they'll blow Georgia Tech away. Georgia Tech's terrible. So I'll be on the Miami bandwagon at least for today, because I think that's a pretty good bet to take today. In a day really where there's not a whole lot of games that jump out at you in terms of betting. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, sir. Slim Shady Canes, good morning, sir. Why did Indians protest the Sugar Bowl from being played in the Superdome? It's a sacred Seminole burial ground. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet or not, but Willie Tiger doesn't know what he's doing either. Bears, Cubs, Gaines, thank you for the super chat. He says, what's up, Lou? Who do you think are some up-and-coming coaches? I think right now it's a lot of the same names. Matt Campbell, Iowa State. P.J. Fleck at Minnesota. It's sort of the same group of names. You've been hearing a lot of the same names over the last couple of seasons, and not many of them have got upgraded jobs yet. But you hear about Matt Campbell, you hear about P.J. Fleck. I still like Dino Babers. Now Syracuse is having a really, really bad year. I still think Dino Babers is a good coach. We'll see what Chris Kleiman can do at Kansas State. He won a bunch of national titles in the FCS level, or whatever they're calling it these days, at North Dakota State. We'll see what he ends up doing at Kansas State. Who else? Up-and-coming coaches. I don't know. I think that's probably a pretty good list for now. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Slim Shady Canes, you know you're from Tallahassee if you've ever climbed a water tower with a bucket of paint to defend your sister's honor. Wasn't there a country song about that? John Deere Green? You have to be about my age probably to know that song. Joe Diffie, I think, sung that song. Jesus, I can't. Hopefully that's the only time ever that Joe Diffie gets mentioned on YouTube. Jesse Stacy, thank you for the super chat. What we eating, Woo? Chili. It's cold and rainy here. I talked about this at the top of the show, but I love chili, and it's just been so damn hot here. I mean, the whole first month of the season, it was 95 degrees every Saturday. It's finally started to cool off some here now over, I don't know, the last couple of weeks, I guess. So, yeah, I am doing a chili today. In fact, I'm fixing to end this show here in a little bit. And, yeah, I'm going to jump straight in the Lou-mobile, drive my happy ass up to the grocery store, and get all the stuff for chili, come back. And, you know, chili, you cook it all day. At least so as soon as I come back, as soon as I get back, I'll put it on. I'll cook it for a couple hours, and then I just leave it on low. And, you know, the kids like that too, because then they can eat anytime they want. It's like a buffet, you know. If they get hungry, they just go in there and fix themselves a bowl of chili, and we just eat it all day. Let me ask you this about chili, though. I have to put the crackers and the cheese in it. Do you guys do that? I bet most of you probably do. I don't think that's weird or unusual, but I have to have the saltine crackers or the little like soup crackers. But I actually like saltines better in chili, but. So saltine, and you put the shredded cheese in there. Man, it's so good. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna eat today. And I'll probably pick up something for a snack too, but I don't know what that might be. There's no live stream today, by the way, after this one. I have some things I have to do today with my kiddos. And I'm not going to be able to live stream either on YouTube or the Patreon page, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna make it up next weekend, though. I think I'm gonna live stream two. I'll do a YouTube stream for one block of games, and then a Patreon stream for another block of games. And I did this once earlier in the season, so for example. If I decide to stream the noon games, I'll stream from 11:45 till 3:30 on YouTube, right? And then maybe the nighttime games on the Patreon page. So stream from 7 to 11 or whatever over on the Patreon page. That's how that'll work to sort of make up for today. I will still be doing reaction videos to anything that happens that I need to do a reaction to. And, of course, no matter what, I will have a halftime video and post-game video for Georgia versus Kentucky. But I'm not able to do any game streams today, so I apologize for that. But we'll get back to that next weekend and do two of them, a YouTube one and a Patreon one. And I think I'm going to start that morning show. I really do. In fact, I think I'm going to start it Monday. I don't know if anyone will watch. I don't know how it'll go. I'm just going to sort of wing it and I'll just kind of figure it out as we go. But I think I'm going to start that. For those of you that don't know or haven't heard me mention this over the last few days or week or whatever, I'm going to do a live show. I think a daily morning live show, probably from about 8 o'clock to about 9 o'clock every morning. It won't be a call-in show. I will answer questions in the chat. My goal mainly, I'm going to try to make this quick and then end the stream. I know you guys got things to do today too. There's a couple of reasons I want to do this. Number one, I get asked almost weekly about a podcast. I don't have any interest in doing a podcast, not in the traditional sense. I don't have any interest in recording an audio-only podcast for an hour once a week or once a day or whatever, and then uploading that to iTunes or whatever. Now, there's video podcasts, I don't really know what the difference is between a video podcast and a YouTube video. To me, they're the same thing. But so anyway, this will sort of serve that purpose. I'm not going to be taking calls. It'll be me talking for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the day and how the show goes and all that kind of thing. And so that's number one. So hopefully this will scratch that itch for those people that are wanting some sort of Uncle Lou podcast. This will be close to that. You can put your phone in your pocket while you're working out in the evening. I don't know however people listen to podcasts. That's what you can do. Number two, and this really applies during the football season especially, there's a lot of stories, headlines, subplots from different games and things that come up during the season that I don't have time to make a video on or even talk about in a live show because I'm taking phone calls all the time. So I'm at the mercy of whatever it is the callers want to talk about. So with the morning show, I can come out here, turn the computer on, pull ESPN up or Yahoo Sports or Saturday Down South, whatever, all of them. And, read through today's headlines. If there's anything that's interesting to me or you or whatever, I talk about that on those shows, give my opinions on that on those shows, that kind of thing. I'm also probably going to have, I said I'm not going to take phone calls, and I'm not, but I'm probably going to have guests on from time to time. Now, if I do this show daily, I probably can't have a guest on every single day. I'd run out of people who would have any interest in doing that. But again, there's something I get asked. Why you should have this person on, you should have that person on. If I do a morning show once a day, Monday through Friday, it will give me a lot of opportunities to do those things that right now I just don't have time to do, honestly. So that's sort of the plan with that. And like I said, I'm planning on starting that Monday. I don't know how it'll look. I don't know how it'll go. Outside of everything I just told you, I really don't have any plans or ideas for that show. But, if you guys have been watching this show or the nighttime show for a long time, you guys know how those shows have evolved over time into what they are now. I didn't just sit down one day and this is how the show looked and sounded and the format and all that kind of stuff. I take feedback from the viewers, from the comment section, from emails, all things like that, and tweak all this stuff over time to get to the point where the shows look and sound and flow like they do now. And the morning show will be the same type of thing. First couple of weeks, it might be terrible. I don't know. I might do it for a couple of weeks and decide it was a bad idea and not do it anymore. I don't know. But I'm going to start. It's one thing I figured out a long time ago. If you don't do anything until you try to figure out the perfect way to do it, you'll never do it. I get emails all the time. I want to start a YouTube channel. What should I do? Start uploading videos to YouTube. That's what you should do. And that's the first thing you should do. Waiting until you have everything you think it is you need, or you have the perfect plan, or that day will never come. Well, what kind of camera do I need? What microphone do I need? All you need is a cell phone. That's it. I did this for 3.5 years with nothing but a cell phone. Literally nothing but a cell phone. So, anyway, the show will evolve over time and hopefully get better over time, that morning show. But that's just sort of the general idea of where that came from, why I'm doing it, and just sort of off the top of my head, how I think it will go, at least in the beginning. I'm the Haymaker. Thank you for the super chat. It says, good morning, Nat. Did you catch the Ohio State game last night? I didn't watch it on TV. I watched it on my phone while me and Mrs. Lou were watching other things on TV. But yeah, another dominating game by Ohio State. Justin Fields scored his 30th touchdown of the year. Jake Fromm's never had more than 30 in an entire season. Ohio State appears to be the best team in America to me at this point in the season. Doesn't mean they're going 15-0 or winning a national title, but right now they look like one of, if not the best teams, I think. Thank you for the super chat, Haymaker. Jordan Kapler, thank you, sir. He says, thanks for taking my call. I want to make a quick game prediction. I say Penn State 24, Michigan 10. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Go Bucks. 14-point win. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game. Say what we want about Michigan. I still think their defense is okay. We'll see. This is just a tough spot for Michigan on the road at Penn State. I'm sure they're doing the whole whiteout thing. Michigan State has completely crapped the bed in every big game they've played going back to last year, right? Blown out. I mean, think about Michigan's last 3 or 4 big games, right? Ohio State, you get blown out. Hell, go back before that. You lose to Notre Dame last year. You get blown out by Ohio State. You get blown out by Florida in the bowl game. You get blown out by Wisconsin in your biggest game so far this year. It just hasn't been good in big games for Michigan. I really don't see how anybody would be willing to put money on Michigan in this game. Maybe you decide to stay away from the game if you have a funny feeling or something. I don't see how anybody could look at this game and go, you know what, I think Michigan's going to pull off the upset. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but I don't see how anybody could predict that at this point based on what you've seen from Michigan over the last couple of years. I think the 24-10 is probably a pretty good prediction. Slim Shady, thank you for the super chat, sir. Did you hear what happened to the Florida State fan when he found out that 90% of all car accidents occur within 5 miles of home? He moved. When do Miami and Florida State play? That's got to be soon, doesn't it? Why does it seem like they normally play earlier in the year than what they've played this year? When is that game? Somebody let me in the comment section. Let me know. You don't have to super chat it. I'm looking at the regular comments now. So November 2nd. Okay, thank you, Slim. So 2 weekends from now? Yeah. Oh, it's same week. So Georgia, Florida, and Miami and Florida State play on the same day this year. So that is unusual, right, Slim? Because they have moved that game because the Georgia-Florida game is always on that Saturday. It always falls at that point in the year. And I don't remember the Florida State-Miami game being – it seems like that game has usually been earlier in the year. Am I wrong? Have they moved that game to later in the year? Is that a permanent thing? Is it just this year for some reason? What's up with that? I don't know. I don't care to know, too. Yep. So, it used to be early in the season. Yeah. I don't know what happened there. Why did they change that? Well, they changed the stuff up. Maybe Florida State called the ACC office and told them it's not foul. But it's not foul. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Run to the store. Get stuff for my chili. And then I'm going to camp out here in my grandmother's basement and watch college football all day long. I don't even need to go inside unless I need to get a refill on chili or use the bathroom, which is pretty likely if I'm eating chili all day. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Big shout out to all the super chats today. Listen, without the super chats, there's zero chance I would be doing all these live shows. I just wouldn't be able to do it. So I owe you guys a lot. You know, and to be honest, it's a lot of the same ones of you from show to show. And I can't tell you how much it means to me that you guys continue to support the channel like that. Same goes to everybody over on the Patreon page. Again, I could talk all day and do nothing but thank you, but it just means the world to me. All you guys in the chat section that keep this channel so active. You know, there are bigger channels on YouTube. There ain't no channels with a more loyal viewership and a more active comment section. The comment section on this channel is one of the best places on the internet, period, without question. So big shout out to everybody for tuning in this morning and watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to thumbs up the video. Go back and pick your favorite Uncle Lou video from the last couple of weeks and share it somewhere. Yeah, that helps just as much as super chats or Patreons or anything else. You know, once a week or so, once every couple of weeks, pick your favorite Uncle Lou video and share it somewhere. Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Instagram, TikTok. Don't get me started on the disaster that is TikTok. But anyway, Alex, thank you for the super chat. Says, have a good morning, Lou. Go. And he spelled it like Ed Orgeron, so I'm assuming he's a corn dog fan, which I already know he's a corn dog fan. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, Alex, and good luck to you today at Mississippi State, sir. Hopefully not too much cowbell. Gonna need more cowbell. All right, I'm just rambling at this point. Appreciate you guys watching. Have a great morning.